Last time on Zero to Hero, our boy Sil did map comp and was trying to finish things up before the end of the season. Did he finish? Is he finally on to World vs. World? What does the future hold with the new expansion coming out? Find out that and much more on this episode of Zero to Hero. So I misjudged on how much time it would take for me to finish map comp since I actually forgot a map, which is unusual because it's actually not only the first map that I ever completed as a Sylvari main, but it is generally pretty early on my list when I do my regular map comps. And this was Calderan Forest, and I did all of the ore maps. I did Sparkfly, I did Bloodtide, and then I did all the towns, and I was still missing like 4%. So I scoured the map and realized like, oh crap, I never did Calderan Forest. But that's no biggie. I had time, and in about 20 or 30 minutes, I was done with map comp. It took me about 3 hours to finish the remaining 6 maps and 5 towns. And to get this explanation out of the way now, Foxy Jesus asked me about the marker set that I'm using for map comp, which I've mentioned in other videos, but now is a good time as ever to cover it yet again. And it is through Blish HUD with the pathing module and the Tez Trails marker pack. Now, Blish HUD is an overlay which is pretty well integrated into the game, and it's designed to make things the least distracting as possible. And it has a bunch of other features available with it, raid markers, timers, and all kinds of stuff. It has revealed itself as the one-stop shop add-on environment for Guild Wars 2, and to be completely honest, I only ever really use it for pathing. I do have the Tekets and Tez Trails as my primary marker packs, and I alternate them depending on what collection I'm working on. Tekets has a lot of good jumping puzzle trails and all sorts of stuff, but Tez Trails is definitely faster for map comp. But now that map comp is done, Blish HUD will get shelved until I am working on the map comp for End of Dragons, because we will eventually be doing a Gen 3 legendary once we get through some of the Seasons of the Dragons collections, which I've already started, but we will be focusing more on them while we are waiting for the legendary armor stuff. But we can't do legendary armor stuff without money. So now that we have our map comp done, we are officially moving on from our home in the PvE world to the wonderful open world PvP environment, formerly known as World vs. World. Now, I've mentioned World vs. World in the past, and I had mentioned that I'm not really a big time World vs. World player. However, out of the various games that try to incorporate these large-scale open-world PvP environments, I feel that Guild Wars 2 definitely is on the short list of games that does it correctly. In recent years, there have been some really good updates that make things far more bearable. The reason why I don't really partake in it is because of the whole timed rewards thing. Some people like it, some people don't. There are very limited ways for me to speed up the process of getting a gift of battle or completing a reward track. You usually do this through boosters. Back in the day, I would do a simple World vs. World daily that would give me World vs. World potions, and then I'd just spam them to get rewards. But in 2024, it is entirely unavoidable to actually play the game mode. I was actually able to finish up my first gift of battle. I did about half of the reward track during the Mist Rush event, and then following the gift of battle, I did complete the legendary. I did rush it by using the wrong currencies to actually get obsidian shards because the dumb Straits of Devastation event failed and the Balthazar temple wasn't open, so I blew all my Aurelium and all my volatile magic, but I was able to complete a legendary weapon. I also made the mistake of making a third gift of might, which I'm not exactly ecstatic about, because what this means is that I will have to do a second map comp to make use of it. If you want to vote on the second character to expand this Zero to Hero count, feel free to put it in the comments. It will be one of the 4 alts that I have currently, which are Necromancer, Guardian, Revenant, or Ranger, so pick which one you think I should do. But in short, I made the Juggernaut and I insta-sold it, so I officially have around 1.4k liquid gold, and I'm working on the Provisioner tokens. In between Provisioner tokens, I will still be running World vs. World, running Heart of Thorns metas, finishing up Icebrood Saga masteries, farming raids for LI, and climbing fractals until we are at a personal level 100. I'll be working on Seasons of the Dragons, Aurora, Vision, alongside a Gen 3 legendary. But at around 189 hours played, I've officially made my first legendary on this account, the Juggernaut, which I had in my inventory for about 3 seconds before I insta-sold it on the trading post. I'll share my overall thoughts on World vs. World next week, as I'm still going through the process of trying to understand where the game mode is at with this new server blade system. I'm not really convinced that I like it, but it may just be a bad blade. Now that we know where we are at currently, let me talk for a moment about what my weekly Monday uploads will look like now that we were going into this new expansion release coming out. So I guess the next section doubles as a question for this week, and that is, what kind of content would you like to see from this channel as I work through Janthir Wilds? The 0 to Hero account does not have Janthir Wilds unlocked, and unless things drastically shift due to the launch of the expansion, I won't be unlocking it on this account, and will instead be focusing on the goals that I laid out earlier for this account. So there may be a couple weeks where I am covering my thoughts on the expansion as I work through it on my main, but considering the amount of content that is being released, it really should only be a slight out of sequence from the normal 0 to Hero stuff. It actually lines up pretty well considering we will be doing the general endgame grind for the most part until legendary armor is done, but I will make sure to release an official 0 to Hero episode as major milestones come up. Depending on what you guys would like to see, I will definitely try to come up with something to give you guys a daily dose of Guild Wars 2 on your Monday mornings to start the week. Last week I asked you guys how long you play on average, and when I first started my channel, I've definitely worked out the routine of how I go about doing things. Oftentimes the playtime you see in these videos or any of my videos was taken somewhere between Saturday and Thursday during the week. Occasionally I'll do 2 videos or do a video during the week itself, but editing videos takes time, so I typically edit on Saturday or Sunday morning, and then I have it uploaded and ready to post on Monday morning. That takes anywhere from 4 to 5 hours of my free time each week, leaving me with about 10 or 12 hours of actual playtime in the game, or to get visual examples for whatever video I'm working on. With this 0 to Hero series, it's easy. I just log in and play. I try to stay on track with my goals and then make mental notes for the editing process. For gameplay guides and videos, it's also relatively easy because I can just play that role in some in-game content, and it usually all comes together pretty naturally. As we get into some of your answers from last week, I'll give you all some bonus footage of me opening up 2K Zephyrite boxes, which I did end up getting a high roll item. Unfortunately, it was the battle staff. If any of you guys got any luck and you want to donate your chalk egg sack, queen bee, or confetti infusion, my inbox is always open. Additionally, one of my guildies did high roll a invisible boot box, so if you're interested in trading for that, he is looking for about 4k gold, so you could always hit me up in game if you want to strike a deal. A lot of you guys seem to be in a similar play group as me. Incosto mentioned in a few different segments, but highlighted the 20 to 30 hour week player, which honestly I haven't been in this segment in a while. However, it does really help with accomplishing in-game goals when you have that much time to play. Ultimately, I found with the 10 to 15 hour segment, it is kind of the sweet spot for a fully caught up player. If I had not started a 0 to Hero count, I would have plenty of time to do the weekly stuff, raids, strikes, fractals, and stuff in that 10 to 15 hours, but the 20 to 30 hour player can do all of that stuff and have a significant amount of time for World vs. World, map comp, story collection stuff, and so on. Which basically for the 0 to Hero account, I'm having to pick between the two in a lot of cases. Raids or map comp, raids or story missions, fractals or World vs. World. JT mentioned that they play on the weekends and during summer breaks, and I think any play sesh more than like 4 or 5 hours can be really exhausting. I remember back in the day I used to be able to grind like 8+ hours, grind dungeons, grind metas, do champ trains, do World vs. World, do raids, and still want to continue playing. But now after about 2 hours I'm like, I'm gonna take a break. Some days I miss the days of low obligation, but having a family is too rewarding, and I get a lot more joy out of spending time with them than I really do playing video games. Mr. 5597 says that he plays 1 to 3 hours a day, which is pretty substantial, but the real offensive thing was that he says he uses it to grind for obsidian armor, which just makes my toes curl. I can't imagine the torment of doing rifts for like 3 hours a day, but I'm glad to see that you got a good daily routine that you enjoy, and I'm hoping that you complete it soon so you can get freed from your suffering. But maybe you do like rifts, because you did mention that you are going to be grinding for the legendary spear, which also takes rift essences, so good luck and Godspeed. Zarkun says that he is enjoying the summer in Europe, which is dope to get out of the house, enjoy the good weather, and meet meet people. It's summertime here in beautiful California, and despite the last week or two having a massive heat wave, my family has been going on family excursions and stuff. But since my playtime is at 5 a.m. onwards, it is consistent regardless of the weather or the time of year. I think that the 10 to 20 hour playtime is pretty healthy as long as your social obligations don't get impacted by gaming. Juggernaut says that he feels that 2 hours a day feels like too much, and to be honest, I am getting there on my main account, and unless I was rocking multi-game PvP matches or something like that, I would have a hard time filling up things that I'm excited doing for more than 2 hours. Like most of the time, I fill out my playtime pretty comfortably up until about the 2 hour mark, and if I need to sit around for a meta or something, I'm usually like, dude, I'm gonna just log out. Coffee Dart mentioned that he has no gifts of exploration, which is a shame on you. You know about Blish HUD, you know about test trails, lock in, do your map comp. If you can optimize an inner Nyos fishing farm, you can lock in and do a map comp in like a day or two and get it done. There's like 26 maps and it takes about an hour to do 2 maps depending on which ones you pick, so you can get it done in like 2 weeks without interfering with your other daily routine stuff. There is still a decent amount of time before the August 20th reset, so if you do want to roll into Janthir with like 3k gold from selling those legendaries, then you could do it. The choice is yours. Demogrows mentioned that the gem to gold conversion is being affected by people who buy gems, which is true to some degree. I don't really care too much about the gold to gems or gems to gold conversions, to be honest, but as long as you are comfortable with your situation, you could buy the gems, you could spend the gold. It means nothing to me. Mr. Meat, Jill the Maniac, and Mockhead dropped a comment for the algorithm, so thanks for that, you guys. And with that, thank you all for watching. A special thanks to all my subscribers, and if you dig the content, please consider subscribing. I also post memes on my community page, which some of you guys have noticed, so feel free to check out that if you want some memes. Thanks again, and I will catch you on episode 21.